Hey, good morning, everybody. Great to be back with you all. Phil Friedman here with the morning briefing on the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. How about Dorado on a Twilight trip? It is happening. Tom Durer and our trip this morning, what happened? And so much more. There's so many interesting things happening. Great fishing going on. The weather's starting to cooperate. Here it is, the morning briefing with all of that and more. Great to be with you all again here this morning. Thanks for joining us, and we've got so much to cover with you. That Cabo hurricane actually pushed kind of out toward Hawaii now. It's still going to flush more warm water if you believe the people who believe that theory. Scientifically, people have a little bit of trouble connecting that push of warm water to more and more dorado and subtropical and tropical fish moving into our areas like yellowfin tuna. But fishermen, many will tell you, hey, there is a connection. We see the correlation. When we have those warm water pushes, we see more and more fish. And nothing illustrates that better than Sean Morgan, who I brought you yesterday, who showed you all of those fish that were boiling around Catalina Island. I want to get into his trip in a moment, but first of all, I'm supposed to be out with Tom Durer right now, trolling Mad Max, looking at foamers, and it just didn't happen. I called him. He was in his rocking chair, as I told you, rocking away. Tom's getting old like me. Unfortunately, Tom said something seized up, and I said, what, your knee? Your back? No, it's something on the motor of his boat. So he had a mechanical problem. We were not able to go. Sam De La Torre, very disappointed from Island Fishing Tackle. I was also, but we'll get another trip together with Tom and the Judith Ann in the very near future. All right, so let's get into this trip with Sean Morgan. Then I'm going to our usual format, but this, I have to tell you, was a hilarious trip, and at the same time gives us an indication of what we have presently here in Southern California, what we might be experiencing in the very near future. So Sean has this yacht, and he's been fishing out of Cabo San Lucas and some other areas south of there in Mexico for the last 2 years. He hasn't fished up here for a couple of years, so he was dying to get back to Southern California where his roots are. He ran sport boats here for decades, caught hundreds of fish. He's used to hundreds of barracuda, hundreds of sand bass. He's used to that kind of fishing, so he wanted to get up here and make an impact. Now, his boss, the guy that owns this gorgeous yacht, is a fisherman, and he knows what he's doing, but you know, his kids and some of his friends are novice anglers. So you've got that mix of people on the boat. Sean gets up here and he starts talking to his friends, starts talking to other fishermen, starts trying to figure out what's going on, and they convince him that he needs to go out and spend thousands of dollars on new tackle. So he said he's out trying to buy, you know, as many Mad Max as he can, spreader bars, all this stuff to catch the bluefin tuna. At the same time, he's scratching his head saying, wait a minute, why won't these fish bite what they've always been biting on in the past? So he's got that going on, but he still goes out and spends thousands of dollars of stuff, and he gets his group on board. They go on a trip, and it's too rough. Everybody's seasick, everybody's throwing up. They come back. Then yesterday, or the day before his trip, pops up, and the weather forecast is great. However, he gets out and the weather is lame. They get to the bait receiver and they're putting copious amounts of bait on because Sean wants to have bait to throw at these fish. They put on tons of bait, and the guy at the bait receiver tells his boss, man, I'm telling you right now, those kelps out there are loaded with dorado and yellowtail. You guys are gonna have a fantastic day on the water. Don't worry about it. So Morgan is thinking, oh my God, this guy has set me up for this kelp paddy thing. I want to go look for bluefin tuna. Now the boss is thinking we're going to go to the kelps and we're going to get just well over a couple of minutes, catch all these fish. So anyway, they go to Catalina and they're down at the east end and they're seeing just huge schools of bluefin tuna, but the weather forecast was wrong. Kids are seasick. People are not feeling well. But he says, we're not going back. We're going to do this. And they see these bluefin schools, and all of a sudden, Morgan looks off his bow and sees even more football field size schools of bluefin tuna. And he says, yeah, we're going to do it. At the same time, he says to himself, is it raining? I've got moisture. And he looks up, and up in the crow's nest, one of the young kids who's on the trip is seasick. So I don't have to tell you what that moisture is. And Morgan's like, no, 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 come down. You have to do that overboard. So now he's got this in his hair, down his shoulders, and he sees a big school of bluefin. He doesn't have time to clean up. He drags the spreader bar through it, and boom, they get bit. It's a nice one too, like 100+ pound bluefin tuna. He looks down on deck. He doesn't have a deckhand on this trip. No deckhand, just Morgan up top and a bunch of novice anglers. And there's a guy from Canada who hasn't caught, in Sean's words, a fish over a size 10 shoe. So this guy, when the fish comes up, takes the gaff and is hitting the fish like it's a baseball bat, just hitting the fish. And Morgan is saying, no, 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 you've got to do it this way. So he gets the gaff in the fish. Sean's able to run down the stairs as quickly as Sean can run and get another gaff in the fish. They get it on board. I mean, this kind of comical stuff was going on. They ended up with 6 fish, 6 up to 180 pounds. Great fishing. The spreader bar worked really well for him, but he did go through another school of fish and dragged the spreader bar through it and did this a couple times. He couldn't get a bite. And so he said, wait a minute, what did I do differently? And then he goes, yeah, I know what it was. And so he goes through the school, boom, instant bite, boom, instant bite. So I said, what is the magical thing that you did different? And he said, I can't tell you that. So I have no idea what that was. So they fished kind of late. On the way back home, now this is getting late at night, it's like 6 in the evening, they find this kelp that is tiny. But he said it went down for about 100 feet. And there were hundreds of dorado. Can I say hi to Valentino? There he is. All right, mi amigo. Hundreds of feet deep, loaded with dorado. They hooked 3 dorado right away on this kelp. Everybody gets tangled. They lose all the fish. So he's bummed out about that. Then they roll up on a school of fish that, this is not bluefin, this is not dorado, it's yellowfin tuna. And there's a lot of them. So there's yellowfin. We're talking about off Dana Point, not too far. So tons of yellowfin tuna, not biting, typical early season fish that don't want to bite. They couldn't get a bite on that. And then they hook one and lose it. So he was a little bit bummed about that. So anyway, to make a long story longer, they end up back at the docks. Sean and his boss are on their knees cleaning fish until 12 midnight. They can't dump those carcasses in the harbor. That's illegal. So they run outside of the harbor, dump everything, throw it overboard, and then come back into the docks. Sean falls asleep about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then guess who wakes him up? Yeah, me. I'm calling him at 1 o'clock in the morning because I'm getting off my shift over at the Orange County Fair. I call him up. I call once, call twice, call 3 times. Finally wake him up. He wants to kill me. Gives me a little bit of that story. And boy, I'll tell you, what a trip that was. It was absolutely fantastic. And there was so much to be thinking about in terms of the future because we are seeing all of this come to play. All right, let me take you down to Ensenada. We'll start there and tell you there's some outstanding kelp paddy fishing going on down there for the Pongueros. They've got gorgeous weather here this morning. It's beautiful. There's a mix of yellowfin tuna, just not biting that well. Good dorado fishing. That dorado switch is on right now. They are biting with better frequency, in better numbers. Yellowtail on the kelps. There's even quite a bit of marlin being seen by the guys down there. It's really great fishing for the Pongueros if you choose to drive across the border and jump on board with one of those guys, and I love doing that myself. That is a lot of fun. We'll get you up to the San Diego area where we are seeing more and more of the same, and we're seeing that dorado switch on right now. First of all, 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon. We love www.optionusa.com. It works so good on these fish. You want to have 1.0, 2.0 size hooks, maybe even a little bigger than that. You want to choose a good hot bait. If you do that when you roll up on a kelp paddy, you've got an outstanding chance to get some great fishing and a lot of boats with a lot of good scores yesterday. Daiwa Pacific, 20 guys, limits of dorado, along with 69 yellowtail, Thunderbird. And we're kind of mixing the landings now because they're all fishing the same kind of stuff. Jeff Markland, you know, if Jeff's not catching fish, there's no fish to be caught. Great trip for Jeff Markland as he ended up with limits of dorado, limits of yellowtail. How in the heck can you beat that? The Amigo's been having similar kind of fishing out of 22nd Street Landing. Damian Barranco does charters on the Amigo and does such a great job. You see him catching that fish right there. There's a lot of dorado. They range in size from small like that to up over 20 pounds. It is really fantastic. And twilight fishing, well, you're expecting to go catch sand bass and that kind of stuff. As I mentioned to you, we had a twilight dorado last night out of Dana Wharf Sport Fishing. How can you beat that? What a glorious photo that is. And back to Sean Morgan, he said after they lost those 3 dorado, they didn't catch anymore, but they watched these fish jumping out of the water as the sun was setting. A surreal kind of view for the people on board. Just a beautiful situation, no question about it. And that yellowfin that's up here, the dorado that's up here, it hasn't totally settled yet. When it does, I think you're going to see some really crazy fishing going on, as evidenced by a twilight dorado. And I've been mentioning, I thought we would be seeing half-day dorado, probably yellowfin tuna, and probably yellowtail and the kelps here very, very soon, for sure in September and October. The only thing that'll put the kibosh on that will be early winter storms. Too early to talk about that, but if we get that, that could really put the kibosh on it, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen in the next month or so. So really exciting stuff going on. Grande, limits of dorado, 5 yellowtail for 36 anglers. The Enterprise, fishing out of Pierpoint Landing in Long Beach, out offshore yesterday, found a school of bluefin that wanted to bite, hooked around 20, got 5 on the boat. How can you beat that? One of those fish up around 120 pounds. 6 a.m. type boats leaving out of Long Beach, San Pedro, areas like that, and catching this kind of fish is absolutely mind-boggling. Someday people will be telling that story and your grandkids will look at you and say, yeah, sure, Grandpa. They used to catch 120 pounders on the 3/4 day run here. You're exaggerating. Don't give me that. It's really that kind of a bite. It's really outstanding. Don't forget, Malihini, we are on board there on Friday, August the 19th, and then we're on the Amigo August the 31st. Look in the show description today. There's a list of our charters. There's a link to book for the Malihini. You can book there, and the rest you can send me a text, and I will get you hooked up on one of our trips. That would be a lot of fun. I would love to have you on board. San Diego, out of C4, 35 guys, 70 dorado, 55 on the yellowtail, and a bluefin tuna. How in the heck can you beat that kind of fishing? So offshore is looking good, and the weather scenario right now is for really nice weather. So that is also something in our favor, something that's really going to work. Pretty calm everywhere. The further north you go, Channel Islands are going to remain nice weather, breezy, kind of up and down up there. You get out toward Nicholas and those areas, it's going to be a little bit breezy. Some days are going to be okay, but further south you go, where we're fishing the kelps mostly, it is really gorgeous, beautiful weather, and it's a great time for you to be on the water. You can fish those kelps with iron, also surface iron will work. Get up to the bow, hit that kelp right on the lip of it, wind, and dorado, yellowtail, all of that will bite it. It's an efficient, fast way to catch fish and a lot of fun, as my friend Jeff Yeomans over there at the 540 Slingers Club will tell you all. So the offshore thing this next couple days looks really good to me. We've got good weather, copious amounts of fish. It looks fantastic. Taking you to the islands, Todos Santos, off of Ensenada, we see a mix of barracuda, more yellows into the islands now. That's starting to settle, but just nobody's fishing there. And good calico bass fishing. San Clemente Island, there's yellowtail there, nobody's fishing it. You can get anywhere around 20 yellows on a day trip out to SCI right now. Good calico fishing going on. Catalina Island still remains just a really difficult place. You can have good action on the bonita, don't get me wrong, and you can also catch a few calico bass and occasional yellowtail, occasional halibut like that. Overall, it's tough. And what a weird world we're living in right now, where one day the freelance out of Davies Lock in Newport Beach is hung up on 100+ pound bluefin tuna, and another day he's fishing sculpin and then going to Catalina Island. It's just really a confusing time right now in terms of what's going to happen from day to day, which makes it even more exciting and means you need a variety of tackle. I wouldn't go on a trip to Lake Irvine right now without a 2-speed reel and 130 pound. I mean it. anywhere you go, from half day to 3/4 day, you might bump into those really big fish. So if you have heavy tackle, by all means, bring it along with you. It'll make all the difference in the world. Nicholas, Santa Barbara, some windy weather. Still some sea bass out there. Bluefin tuna back behind. Santa Barbara Island, that's fishable again. Navigante out of Redondo can get all over that one more time again. And up in the Channel Island area, there's still a few white sea bass to be taken up there. And, you know, sometimes you get into double-digit numbers, 12, 15, like that. And what is wrong with that in August? I mean, that place, the Channel Islands, Ventura Sport Fishing, it has been such a spectacular year. Really great fishing up there. By the way, Ventura Sport Fishing, 805-676-3474. A mix of halibut and some other species up there. It's been really fabulous fishing up in that neck of the woods. And they also always have rockfish. Along the coast, same thing. Barracuda, sand bass, calico bass, kind of hit and miss right now for the entire coast. Down there in the Ensenada area, it's still great calico fishing along that rugged, beautiful, gorgeous Baja coastline. Punta up to La Bufadora, that whole area. Nice fishing going on there. We move you up to San Diego, a few sand bass and calico bass, sculpin rockfish. They're going to be catching dorado on kelps on the half-day boats here very, very soon. And then we move you up and along the coast, you know, out of Long Beach, we've seen a little bit of fish going on up there in terms of bass. So some lighter stuff like 12, 15 pound when you're fishing bass. Fluorocarbon makes all the difference in the world. It's really, really important to bring that along with you because it can help you catch more and more fish. Good morning. And that is something you definitely want to have along with you. I've become friends with all of these people who are walking up and down the beach here in the mornings, and it's really lovely to come down here and see them. So we move you up to the Channel Island or the Bay, Santa Monica Bay, rockfish, a few bass up there in that neck of the woods. Also Marina del Rey with copious amounts of rockfish. People are going home with good eating fish, nothing wrong with that. Channel Island area up there in that neck of the woods, we continue to see some barracuda for the island spirit. Cody Rogers out of Ventura Sport Fishing and rockfish, and same thing up there out of Santa Barbara. They're catching some good rockfish in that neck of the woods. Also the surf, man, look at this. It's perfect for corvina fishing. It's really, really looking good right now. So light line, natural bait, sand crabs, ghost shrimp, something like that. Definitely the best way to go. Up there in the Santa Monica Bay, Topaz Rock Jetty, lots of corvina in that neck of the woods. There's yellowfin croaker, spotfin croaker, real good in the surf right now. And fishing 2 hours before the high until 2 hours after the high. Great window of opportunity. Some people don't think so. I happen to have been fishing the surf for 50 years. I've seen it happen all the time. It's not the only factor that gets you bit. There's a lot of other stuff involved, but that window is always good. However, on low tide, you can catch good amounts of halibut and corvina. Great fishing for that on the low tide also. All right, Twilight Dorado, more fish moving in. Sean Morgan with a crazy trip. That sounded absolutely hilarious to me. I'll be down on Sean's yacht here right after the fair ends on Sunday. We're going to do a podcast with him, cover that and so much more. He's a colorful, funny guy. I can't wait to do that. And of course, the morning briefing lives on as my voice is still not back to normal, but it's getting close. Thanks everybody for our soaring statistics. You are the ones who make us so strong and so powerful, and I deeply appreciate that. For all of us here at Friedman Adventures, thanks again for joining us, and I hope to see you really, really soon.